Hey, what's up, Blazer fans? Welcome to We Have a Take the What podcast. I am Tara Bowen Biggs, joined as always by Rose Harding. Hello, Rose.
Hello, Tara. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. I'm so happy to be in Blazer season. I was just thinking about that yesterday. I feel like I have my rhythm back, and I was thinking about how pretty soon we're gonna have year-round basketball, and I know at some point we're gonna be like, we need a break. But right now, it feels really good to just have that rhythm of. I mean, I don't even like it when there's 2 nights off of Blazers. So I like the rhythm that we're in right now. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm also really excited that there's so much basketball. I know that I'm really excited about basketball whenever I go to get my nails done, I go with red because I don't know, when I'm like really feeling basketball, I like want to like see it on my hands. So I had a different red. This time I went back and I got like a darker red, but I try to stay within like the Blazers kind of sphere of colors when I'm really excited about basketball.
I had red nails up until the OKC game when I tore all the nail polish off because I was so nervous.
Oh my gosh. It was a fun win though.
Phew. Yes, it was. That game was so much fun. And I can't tell you how happy it makes me to be back in the Moda Center when it's just everybody is like actually pulling for something that means something. It's just
Mm.
I'd forgotten about that. Instead of like, hey, we might win a random game. It's like, hey, we might win a game because they actually put everything together and execute it correctly at the end of the game, and they pulled it together instead of it just sort of accidentally happening. And it just feels so good.
Yeah, I when I was watching that game, I was like, "Oh God, like we're really good at blowing leads. Like we're really good at like not or like coming back but not enough." I I was so nervous because like our previous brand of basketball for several years was not very hopeful in those close games. And so I couldn't believe that we actually pulled it out. Granted, we blew some other games this week that like were pretty winnable, but you take some,
Yeah,
you lose some.
and I just keep thinking the Blazers I think are like pretty much right where they're supposed to be right now. You know,
Mhm.
they're we're still a little bit behind like Houston and Detroit, who got a few years ahead of us on the lottery development express train, and we were just we got on it after that, and so we're just a few years behind, and I feel like they're right where they're supposed to be, and I try to remind myself when they have losses, and the fact that they really have been in every game this year so far, knock on wood, is a relief. We're almost to like the 10 game mark where some people say now you can start talking about how good they are. And if they make it to the 10 game mark and they're 5-5, that feels about right.
Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking a little bit about how, like, losing isn't just losing. It's like losing close is different than losing big. And like the number of, like, if I was like, if I put I don't like to put on my data hat too much, but if I put my little data hat on and I think to myself, like the wins and losses are like the outcomes, and like maybe they're still going to be like kind of, right around 500 or something, like that's fine. But like if I was thinking about it, like the measures that might measure process, the margin of wins is smaller so far this year than in previous seasons, and the number of like true garbage time minutes is way down. Like
Hmm.
we have not seen garbage time lineups really much at all this year, and that's pretty amazing.
There's only been one time so far this year that I had to call out, get it to 10. And that was my whole entire brand the
Yes,
last three
that's right.
years.
For multiple seasons, we were just like, get it to 10.
Get it to 20.
Oh God, get it to 30
Sometimes I'd say get
sometimes.
at the 30 if we were like inching up on halftime and they were still at like 25. And I remember so many so many quarters over the last few seasons that were like, okay, if they can just get 20 in the quarter, like, do you think they can get to 25? Do you think they can score 27 points this quarter? And we had to just like look at it so microscopically in order to like maintain our sanity that it's like taking a little bit of getting used to just going back and just watching the games and just like enjoying the basketball.
Hmm. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
it's
we
pretty
also,
amazing.
yeah, but the injury bug, I mean, we should know that it's coming. It crushes me that we don't have Blake Wesley slash a backup point guard.
Yeah. I was it was so funny because I was watching the game last night. So last night was the Miami game.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't need to dwell on that.
but all I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, when is Scoot back? I want Scoot back so bad. And I don't want him to come back before he's ready, obviously. But like, I'm really missing Scoot because one, we haven't seen what he's like in this offense. And I'm kind of excited to see what he can do in this style. And just two, we need somebody so bad to be able to handle and protect the ball. I watched, oh, I had this moment last night where I practically screamed at you, even though you weren't in the house, in my house, where like Shaden got the ball stolen from behind, and I was like, "Where's Tara on the road to scream behind you?" Ah, the ball security aspect has been real scary with so little like like ball handlers on this team. We've seen a lot of point Denny. We've seen, like Drew is lovely, but he can't play the whole game.
Right.
Um, and like I don't know who the third guy is anymore.
Mm-mm.
It's just whoever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just again, that's where we are. That's what this team is right now. And it's fine. And I think I mean, in my trying to protect my heart, I've been thinking that I'm not counting on Scoot until like after the beginning of the year. I'm just like, that's just how it always goes. Like I think they're gonna come back and then they don't. But maybe we'll get him back before then, and we'll have a good. We'll get to see Scoot maybe after Thanksgiving or something. But yeah, they are so in need, and I also think that the way that the team plays now, I mean, obviously fast, and that is like the number one thing is to go fast and play quick, do everything early in the clock. Lots and lots to talk about that. All I will say is that when I listened to a podcast before we manifested Tiago Splitter becoming the interim coach or the acting head coach. I listened to a podcast where he was talking about his like how he ran practices in Paris, and he likes to run them super fast and to not go slow and do them perfectly. He would rather have people go fast and do it wrong and then do it again and do it again and do it again rather than the slow down, walk through it,
Yeah.
get it exactly right. So that's just what I'm prepared to watch all year. And I think it'll like
Yeah, and it's
right
gonna
now.
be a little messy.
Mhm, yeah. Although I keep putting on blue sky that I'm going to be sent to an early grave by this team, which is funny because the last few years, have been hard to watch, but they're taking years off my life with the like drawing charges. Like how many charges do we have to draw? Like can we just does everything have to be an attempt to draw a charge? And between the Blazers trying to draw charges and not getting the calls because that slows down the speed of the whole game, and then them not being ready for the other team to do outlet passes. Those are the two things that are taking years off my life. But those are both things that can be cleaned up.
Yeah, and hopefully things that are temporary as a part of the like growing pains of learning a new style and also playing this fast.
Yeah.
Honestly, I expected more turnovers at this point in the season than we're seeing. I mean, so I guess uh last night's game felt like there was quite a few, and on that in the Lakers game there was a ton of turnovers, but you know, there was points in last season where there was just like probably more turnovers than assists, like multiple games, and it felt quite bad. And the ball security, I think, is a little bit better than it has been in previous seasons, especially considering like the loss of personnel that we have.
Hmm.
Um, I think that it will get better when we get point guards back.
Yeah, if we have more than one point guard, that'll be fantastic. WAP has been playing recently, and it's wonderful.
I was saying this on Blue Sky last week. I think that Watt feels like everyone's BFF. Like he is like so warm. Everybody's happy for him when he does well. Everybody is really like all the players seem to really respond like affectionately to WAP. Like I saw on like Danny's Instagram stories he called WAP the president,
Oh yes.
which like took me out. But I just feel like he like brings out the softest side of everybody. Everybody loves him. He must be such a good guy to have on your team. And you can see why, like, when you're like trying to fill out your roster and you're like, oh, we have this need. We need a backup center. We need a, a guy who can offer these things. But like, WAP feels like a no-brainer because he feels like such a good vibes guy.
And he's hitting his threes, which the
Yes,
Blazers need.
yes, and he's a legit stretch five.
Yeah, yeah. That's been gratifying to see. We actually had after the OKC game, several friends who you know and who probably are listening to this right now. We had our there's a season ticket holder event where we got to meet a player and get our picture taken with the
Mhm.
player after the game. We didn't have time for conversations. It was just like move him through, get the picture taken. But the player was WAP, and it was the night that he played really, really well. So we had to wait like extra long because they called him in to do media. And
Mm.
so we had to wait a really long time, but it was worth the wait. He was so nice when we met him. We were just like, hey, great, because the three of us went up together with him. And we were like, hey, great game. Your shooting was so great tonight. And he goes, oh, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I'm like, oh. And then we got our picture, and then we moved along. But it was we were trying to decide like how do they choose who is the player who's going to go out and have to do the extra duty of meeting all the fans. Do they draw
That's funny.
straws? Is it like
Maybe maybe BFF WAP volunteered.
maybe that's why everybody's so nice to him?
They're like, oh, he takes one for the team. He goes out and takes the photos with all the fans.
Yeah, we were also lamenting like how late it was because next week is the first 8 p.m. start. I'm like I can barely stay awake until 8.
It's gonna be dark, like so dark. It's gonna be extra dark by the time that game is starting. Who's gonna go to that? I'm really curious who even goes to those games because I don't know anyone who's like, yeah, I want to go to an 8 p.m. game.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah, on a Tuesday. Friday, sure.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday, for what purpose? It's too early in my week to like tank my energy for the rest of my work week.
Yeah, they need to feed that into the scheduling algorithm because, like you were saying before we hopped on, like, sure, if you're going to have 8 o'clock games, have them on the East Coast,
Yeah.
because, like, no, already nobody watches very few people watch the West Coast games. And now you're going to make it even later. I
Yeah.
kind of hope nobody goes,
So late that the West Coast doesn't even want to watch it.
right. I kind of hope nobody shows up just so that the NBA will go, like, oh, maybe we miscalculated this. However, I don't think the NBA will ever admit that they were wrong to anything ever. So
The
I'm going to
NBA will
show
be
up
out here.
anyway.
They'll be talking about how great it is in Hawaii to watch an 8 p.m. game on the West Coast because they're just like getting home from work and
Mhm.
able to watch a basketball game. But that's like, it's good for them and that's like it.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for them, so that's good. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you pointed that out. At least it's good for somebody. Okay, so we talked about briefly about games. We talked about so last time we talked, we didn't know what was wrong with Blake Wesley, but we found out that he had foot surgery, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But if you want to see something cute, go check out his Instagram content because it's all with his parents and it's adorable.
Yeah. He had a fracture in the fifth metatarsal, I think, on his foot. So I think that would make his like the bone that leads to his pinky toe.
Hmm.
Um, and what did they say? Like 8 to 12 weeks, I think. So we'll see. Like, sounds like we might be seeing Blake Wesley till like close to the All-Star break.
And then suddenly you'll be, oops, all guards again.
Yeah, that's right. Especially and Matisse too, because Matisse he had thumb surgery like a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, where because he tore a ligament in his thumb, and he's gonna be out. Like I don't remember if they said 8 to 12 or what his timetable for return was, but you know, two guards suddenly out the door.
Yeah.
and Scoot's not back yet.
Right. And then all of a sudden they'll all be back. And then we'll see what happens from there. Blazer cutie alert. Last
Oh
night,
yeah. Oh yes. Trendon Watford triple double in Philadelphia.
I wish we
Yay,
had I
Trendon.
wish we had a, like a pow 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 thing or like a celebration sign or a big applause thing that I could play right now. So happy for him.
Oh my God, he always showed like that kind of like his game is versatile enough that I think that he could do that with enough minutes, with enough run from a team. He just never really found his way into lineups here. But like his like his stat distribution was always like everything, every category when even when he was here, but he was playing so few minutes, it would be like 10, 5, and 4 or something.
Hmm.
But like for the amount of minutes he was playing, that was great. Um, but I'm so happy for him because it also means that like they're giving him playing time, and that means that he maybe is getting an opportunity to find a decent role for himself, which would be wonderful because Trendon was a delight to watch when he was here. True
Yes.
Blazer cutie right there.
Yes, absolutely. It, it reminds me of last night I logged into Blue Sky because I got there a little bit late and I was gonna say something about how Norman Powell like was really annoying and like the entire feed was all people from Portland saying things about Norman Powell. I guess I didn't realize that it was like he was like sort of widespread, not really loved in town. And I don't really know why. Like he never did anything to Portland. He never like said anything bad about us, but apparently a lot of people just never really went for the Norm Powell experience.
I think that his era here corresponded with a really dark era of Blazers basketball, and I think that's partly why we don't like him because it was like back when you remember when we like acquired him, we traded Gary Trent
Gary Trent
Jr.
Jr.
for Norman Powell, who we loved Gary Trent, like we did, and we traded him away for this guy that was supposed to be something that pushed us over the top.
We
And
should have
he
known.
was
That was
just
actually on us.
like another guard.
Yeah.
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 But he was just like another guard. And like when he's sold to you in that way, of course everyone's disappointed with you with that
Yeah.
era of basketball. Like, we lost somebody we loved. He came and he was like, I heard Toronto loved him, and I'm glad for that because like when he got here, he was like kind of aloof. There was nothing very like there's nothing for me to latch onto as a fan. I worked really hard to try to like Norman Powell, but I'm like, you're pretty boring. I don't like your grind like motto. Like a lot of guys have come through here with their grind mottos. We have like I think
Allergic
T-Rob
to
had a grind motto. A
failure.
lot of guys had yeah, allergic to failure was one, and then there was like addicted to the grind or something like that, or I don't know. But his is understand the grind, and I was like, what am I understanding what? What now? That doesn't fit on a shirt. Like, okay. And then he did like do you remember he did like a t-shirt where he crossed it over with Powell's bookstore? It was
Hmm.
like a Norman Powell's bookstore collab to do a t-shirt.
You'd think we would love him because of that.
I saw it and I was like, this is the most boring looking t-shirt that you could have made for a cool collab. Like you can't even really tell what it's like who's involved. I
Mm.
can't tell that it's him and I can only kind of tell it's Powell's the bookstore.
Well, and he was also competing with like Greg Brown, We Dunk Weird, and I mean, how can
Yeah.
you compete with that? I don't know. It was just I don't think it's Norm Powell's fault. I think it was just a mismatch. And I think I loved Gary Trent Jr. and I had big hopes for
Oh
him. And
yeah.
so when he got traded away, that was very sad. But
Yeah, I think that was also part of it. I loved Gary Trent as well. And then also Gary Trent was like really hitting his fashion stride
yeah.
at that point. And then it
Yes.
was just ripped from our hands. And they're like, here's this guy who's kind of boring and he understands the grind.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless you're talking about coffee, I'm not super interested.
Yeah. Um, so that is, well, we are going to be talking more about Gary Trent in a minute, because for today's show, we were talking about the fact that the Blazers are on their first kind of like extended road trip. They went on a quick trip down to California and Utah, but now they've flown all the way across the other side of the country. They're playing 5 games in a way. They're going to be gone for over a week. And so that got us to thinking about memorable Blazer road trips, maybe mishaps, maybe adventures. But we were pretty quickly able to come up with, off the top of our heads and with a little help from the group chat, we came up with some of the memorable Blazer road trip experiences that we were going to talk about today, just because they're fun to go down memory lane and remember some of these things. So, we may have left out some really important ones. So if we get through this list and we left out your favorite Blazer road trip memory, definitely tell us because I know there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, and I'll say like long time listeners probably know what like most of this list is going to look like, but new listeners, new fans, like you these might be things that you don't even touch your radar because some of them are like kind of old. Although we didn't dig too far back in the past because we wanted to still feel kind of relevant to this team. And Dame is sort of a through line to like past teams, I think, and like
Hmm.
the team that we have now because we've had so many lovely years with him.
Yes, and I think it also has to do with the rise of social media. Because
Yeah.
a lot of these things on this list, we know about because they showed up on social media. And, back in the day before social media was telling us everything in the very instant, there could have been a whole lot more road trip stories that we just never heard about. And also, a lot of them, the details about them were in like podcasts
Mm.
from like the old Casey Holdall and Joe Freeman Rip City Report. They would sometimes tell stories about these road trip adventures, and then now in the Blazers balcony with Casey and Brooke. Um, so I think that's also part of it. Like, because I mean, I couldn't tell you about any road trip stories from like the Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter years,
Right.
but I'm sure they exist.
Yeah. The way that teams are covered now is totally different than it used to be. And also the fact that like literally everyone has a camera in their pocket at any given moment. I remember I think during one of these incidents, somebody went live in the middle of it. They like started broadcasting live on Instagram. And like that's something that just older teams would have never had the opportunity to do that. Like talk about it in the moment or like right after.
Yeah, and it also makes me think that we may be like, we've talked about this before, kind of seeing the end of the golden age of this because
Hmm.
of people being like stars not being so much running their own social media anymore, not being inclined to take out their phones and do things as much anymore because of just the risks that are inherent to that kind of activity. So
Hmm.
this could be going over the golden age of road trip stories.
That's right.
I mean, remember there was a whole podcast called Road Trippin' that was like franchised
Wasn't that
even.
Channing Frye?
It was Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson, but then it was franchised and like almost a whole bunch of franchises had it. Remember very briefly, Brooke and Evan Turner did it for the Blazers.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But did they even make road tripping anymore? I don't think
I
they
don't
do.
know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, that was a time. That was a time. So the first one that we came up with was in May of 2014, Snake in the Locker. Who remembers this one?
It was against the Spurs and they were on the road. And I don't know what it is with the Spurs arena and like wildlife, but they always got bats. And in this case, they had like a
Snake.
baby rattlesnake in like one of the in the visitor's locker. And Thomas Robinson found it.
Yep. So this one really sticks into my mind because I was actually on the phone talking to Bruce Ely, the photographer for the Blazers, and he goes, I have to go. Someone just found a snake in their locker. And then that was the end of our conversation. We were like planning something for like the Mount St. Helens thing. And
Hmm.
but yeah, he was like, I gotta go. Somebody just found a snake in their locker. And I was like, what? So yeah, they were in the second round of the playoffs. It was after the Houston shot that propelled them into the second round of the playoffs and the first time in like 14 years or something like that. And
Hmm.
I found the article that Casey Holdall wrote on his old blog, Forward Center. Um, And there's a great quote from Will Barton. So, and I'll also say that throughout this narration, everybody was saying it was a rattlesnake. The Spurs clarified later that it was a non-venomous snake. Um, because everybody, the Blazers were like, they put a venomous snake in our locker. And they were like, no, it was not a rattlesnake. It was non-venomous. But so Will Barton, here's what Will Barton said about the event. He says, "Man, me and Thomas at our lockers as usual. We're changing, and he goes to put his shoes down, and he's like, 'What the?' You know what he said. He's like, 'There's a snake under my locker, dog.' And I'm like, 'Stop playing.' He's like, 'No, for real, a real snake.' And we just looked under there, and there was a snake. I was scared." So that's Will Barton. And then Thomas Robinson adds, "I just put my shoes down, and once I put my shoes down, I double looked, and I seen a snake sitting there. After that, I got away from it. I just seen something curled up, and I looked again, and it was a snake. No one believed me until they looked in there, and it hissed, and I backed up."
Oh my
Can
gosh.
you imagine the bedlam in the locker room?
No, I can't. Although there was a part of me that when like when I was revisiting this story when because I knew we were going to talk about it today, I was like, it's too bad Robert Covington wasn't on that team. Maybe Robert Covington would have been the right person to have on that team because that dude had pet snakes.
Yeah, he could have just cooled everybody down. Well, so the article that Casey posted was very short, so I'll read the rest of it. Once Robinson was able to convince his teammates that there was in fact a venomous snake taking up space in his locker, arena security snapped into action, trapping the snake by the head and removing the uninvited serpent with the help of a trash can. It's bizarre to have a venomous snake in your locker room, joked head coach Terry Stotts. I don't know if it's happened before. That sounds like an ABA story. I loved that comment. Um, no one was able to explain how the
Funny.
snake got into Portland's locker room, though Spurs guard Danny Green is a snake enthusiast. Update: a spokesperson for the Spurs says that the snake was not a rattlesnake, though that's exactly what you would expect them to say. And that's what Casey wrote.
That's really funny.
I know. Well, so
Well,
what I've heard about there being the bats and the snakes is because San Antonio also does like rodeo and like animal related shows in that same arena. So it's apparently not unusual to find various types of animals and critters in there. That's what I heard.
that's weird, man, because you would think that you'd take keep good tabs on all of the animals that you bring in to make sure that they all make it out.
Yeah, but if they like are riding in on the coattails of some of the ones that you are keeping track of,
Yeah,
I don't know, but it
I guess
was
that's true.
it was a very entertaining mishap.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that everybody was well. And also, do you know the outcome of that game? Like, how did the Blazers play? It was game two, right?
Didn't they get swept?
I don't know.
I don't
I'm
have it
just
up in
curious.
front of
I'm
me.
just curious if we could win
Yes, I
after
don't have
that.
it in front of me. I feel like they did not win. Oh, but also fun fact, guess who is on that San Antonio Spurs team that would go on to win the championship?
Tiago Splitter.
Yago Splitter, our guy. So maybe we can finally maybe we can have Casey ask him a question if he knows anything about it.
Yeah, Tiago, who brought the snake in. You can spill now.
Yes. Surprise him in the middle of a like post-game interview. They're never gonna let us speak to anybody on the team.
I wouldn't let us talk to anybody either. They'd be like, "Who are these crazy ladies talking about like snakes in a locker 11 years ago?"
We never forget.
Do you have anything else you want to say about the snake in the locker room in San Antonio?
The only thing is they made a really great funny video of the plays of a bunch of Blazers telling the story, and so we will or is this so no, or am I thinking I'm thinking of the elevator one. Um
Spoiler.
I know, spoiler. So never mind.
Everybody knows coming.
Cancel that. But we will I will say that we will add links to these stories because they're really fun to go back and read and remember.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna move us on to our next one. So our next one is in January 2017, the Blazers trying to make it home to Portland were diverted to Seattle because if you all recall, that was like the worst snowstorm in Portland in like 20 years. That December or there's me that January. And I will say it was really memorable for me because at the time my daughter was born in December of 2016 and in January 2017 we got like snowed in and we couldn't go anywhere for like more than a week because we had like 14 inches of snow at our house. But the Blazers played in LA and we're trying to make it home for the second night of a back-to-back at home. And they were playing the Cavs, and the Cavs were flying from Salt Lake City, also on a back-to-back. They closed the airport, and neither of those teams was really sure that they were going to make it home. But this was a game where basically the Blazers played on like no sleep. What happened was the Blazers, for whatever reason, the Cavs were able to fly into PDX and land, and they made it to their hotel around 4 a.m. And this was like, I think that they were flying on a Tuesday night. Their game was on a Wednesday night. It was nationally televised, so a lot of people were very interested in what was going to happen. Um, Cavs got to their hotel in Portland at like 4 a.m. early Wednesday morning, and then the Blazers got into Seattle at 4 a.m. I don't know why the Blazers weren't allowed to land, but the Cavs were. I like someone smarter than me would have to explain why that happened. But the Blazers flew into Seattle, and then they had scheduled like a charter bus that was going to drive them to Portland the next day. Um, I read that they ended up flying. They were able to fly in the next day, but they still had to like wake up at by like 11, get on a bus, go to the airport, and then fly to Portland. And I think the NBA announced right around noon that day that the game was indeed going to happen because it was like a 7 p.m. tip or maybe 7:30 and it was nationally televised. It was going to be on ESPN and they really wanted to keep that game because also both of those teams were scheduled to play Friday. So if they had delayed it an extra day to like a Thursday, one, it would mess up the TV schedule, and two, it would put them on another back to back. Um, so the Blazers ended up getting back into Portland around 1 that day on like crappy sleep. And instead of going home, they all like, I think that the team must have got them hotel rooms. And so they stayed in a hotel and rested for several hours together and then went back to the arena to play a basketball game, which is wild. Like these guys had they had been just diverted to Seattle. They'd been on buses. They'd been in like lots of hotels that they didn't expect to be in. And they were the home team and they had less rest than like the visiting team.
I just looked it up. They won that game
They did. They
by a
played
lot.
very well. And I wanted to share with you, I pulled like a funny quote from the ESPN article about this. Because this is like when I read it, I was like, this is so Dame. He said, when we got up this morning and we were leaving Seattle and we got on the plane and then the bus, there was just good energy around the team. We were laughing and we were joking. And I think we were just tired, so we were goofy or whatever. But before the game, we huddled up and I said, we're not tired. It's just mental. And this is a game that we've got to go out and get.
Oh, I love him.
But that's like so Dame to be like, we're not tired. It's just mental. We're going to go
Yes.
win anyway.
Well, so I always love the first road trip of the season because it is a time where they all kind of like just block out the outside world and
Hmm.
like this one wasn't the first road trip of the season, but like I think that's a fun thing about road trips is they all just get very insular and they're very focused on the team. And I love it when they go on like they'll go to a movie together or they'll go to like a museum together while they're all together. Um so yeah, a little adversity didn't stop them.
No, they won 102 to 86. The Cavs actually showed up looking less rested. And also remember that was the Cavs team that had just won the
Hmm.
championship. So it was like the LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie, Tristan Thompson,
Channing
Richard
Frye.
Jefferson, Channing Frye, Kyle Korver was on that team, Shumpert was on that team. Like this was like their championship core still together.
Hmm.
Um and yeah, and also it's funny because Channing Frye is he like lives in Portland in the off season. His wife is from Portland. They live here. He like I read in this article that he like couldn't go home and then like actually like a branch during that snowstorm fell on the power lines near his house and like his bushes caught on fire.
Oh
He didn't
no.
even have any power. He couldn't have gone home to any power.
Oh no. Yeah, good thing he was in a hotel. Maybe his wife came down to, oh, if she could have, she probably couldn't get there. I remember that when that was one of those snowstorms that was like, it's coming. And then like came way later than they anticipated. And so everybody got stuck. And it's one of those ones that everybody just abandoned their cars because they got stuck. And then people from who didn't grow up in Oregon are like, people are so bad at driving. Like, yeah, nobody's good at driving in those situations when they're not ready for it.
Well, and it snowed all night, and I remember like going to bed, and um, it was like they said, "Oh, it's going to be like 2 to 3 inches." You know, like we knew it was going to snow, but there was like 2 to 3 inches. Well, I was up with an infant at that time, so I was waking up every several hours to feed her because that's what you do when you have like a teeny tiny baby. And I remember like waking up at like 2 and being like, "It's still snowing," and then waking up at like 4:30, and I'm like, "It's still snowing, and it's getting really tall." And by like the morning, we had like 10 or 11 inches. And by the time we were done, it was like we had like 14. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, I hope nobody has anywhere to go because in Portland, we are not prepared for like a foot of snow in any circumstance.
Those were just like the snowstorms that I dreamed of as a kid. And so
I
it's fun,
know.
fun when they actually do happen, as long as you don't suffer any ill effects from them. Well,
Yeah,
that's not going to be
everyone's
our
safe.
only snow story. But we're going to move on to the next one, which was in February of 2019. The Blazers got stuck in an elevator. They
Yes.
were,
This,
go ahead.
no, I was like, this is like maybe one of the most like famous lore like road trips ever because I think because there was so much video that came out of it of them literally stuck in the elevator. And I want to say that like Ennis Cantor went live on Instagram during it. Although I'm misremembering that. I do remember them post like he posted video, Myers Leonard posted video, like Evan Turner posted video. Like a lot of these guys posted videos of them actually stuck in the elevator together.
Yeah, they posted, I don't know if they were live, but they posted it like while they were still, well, did they? Because their phones weren't working too. So maybe they posted it right after they got out, or maybe some people had coverage that worked and some people didn't. But anyway, you're right. It is absolutely key Blazer lore to learn about the Blazers got stuck in the elevator. I'll give a little background and then you can kind of take it from there. So they were in Boston for a game against the Celtics, and they were practicing at a nearby Emerson College. And they got stuck in the elevator for at least 30 minutes, and it was a bunch of them. It wasn't just like, oh, the elevator got stuck. It was like a lot of them were in it and they were stuck for a long time. I think they were stuck. I don't know if they were stuck, like they'd moved and then it got stuck, or they just never moved, but eventually they ended up being able to like open, like pry, the people from outside were able to pry open the doors, and then they had to like climb out of it. They had to like, I don't know if they did like putting their hands and step on my hands or whatever. That's, I guess it's good that they had all those tall people, but they had to climb out of it.
So by my count, this who was in that elevator, a single elevator, mind you. Dame, Evan Turner, Anthony Simons, Rodney Hood, Gary Trent Jr., Skull, Zach Collins, Myers Leonard, and Ennis Cantor. That is 9 guys in an elevator together, and a bunch of them are like 6'10" or taller.
I mean, that like they must, I wonder if they like exceeded the weight capacity because that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of, I mean, it was probably like a big freight elevator in order to like accommodate their height. You know how sometimes they do that anyway. But yeah, that's, well, I guess it wasn't that big of a freight elevator because they all looked like they were in pretty tight quarters too.
Yeah, like we saw what the elevator looked like, and we saw the video of them being pulled out and climbing out of the elevator, and it was a regular old elevator with just a bunch of huge guys in it. And like when they like release videos, it's like you see Dame on the floor and Gary Trent's kind of like getting nervous, and poor Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood looked like he was having the hardest time of everybody, and Evan Turner sort of confirmed it when he talked about it later. But like Rodney Hood looked like the most likely to be like having a breakdown in that elevator and feeling claustrophobic,
Yeah,
just
this is
standing
the
in the
one where I
corner.
was, yeah, where I was talking about earlier that they made a video, like an animated video of the experience. I think Casey Holdahl interviewed them all, and then they put an animated video over the top of it. So that's the one I was talking about, and we will link to that, because it was very entertaining. It was a lot of different voices, but a lot of people were going through stuff. I mean, you're right. Rodney Hood like looked like he just was really struggling. I guess later they found out that Scow had like a fear of elevators. And so they were like how they were realized how hard it must have been for him. And also like if you remember, Scow was in the Haitian earthquake and he was trapped. And so I wonder if he also had some like claustrophobia issues left over from that. Um,
Yeah. I remember having a greater appreciation for Evan Turner's leadership after that because some of the things that he said, I was like, this is very leaderly of you. I want to share a quote that from like the one of the articles that like the blog that Casey Holdahl wrote about this, where he like talked to some of the guys and he pulled some direct quotes about their experience. Casey asked him if he like if Evan was freaking out. And he said, and Evan said, I don't know, because in order to not freak out, I didn't go to that mind, that tunnel of thinking about freaking out. I saw Rodney Hood freak out. I was about to freak out. So I was like, let's not even take it there, you know? And then he also talked about how he felt like he needed to comfort Gary Trent Jr. as like a big brother because Gary Trent was having a hard time in that elevator too. And I was like, oh, this is a really wonderful person to have in an emergency to be able to turn it off and be like, I'm not going to freak out because other people are going to freak out and they need me to play a different role here. And so he like leaned into that and he played that role and he said, that's what vets do.
mhm.
And after that, I was like, Evan Turner, we're so cool. Thank you for being in that elevator and keeping these guys grounded because it was looking dicey there for a second.
He was also the comic relief. You know, sometimes when things are going bad, somebody just has to get in there and like make everybody laugh. And so that was when he said his famous line, "This is not how you treat the former number one team in the West."
Yes, we deserve better.
That was so funny. What was he the one who with the granola bar?
Yes, Evan Turner had two granola bars. And he talked about how he was keeping one for himself and the other eight guys were going to have to split the other one. But apparently, Dame said he wasn't scared, but then the way he describes this, I'm like, this sounds like a scared person to me, which is no shade. But he talked about how he just grabbed the other granola bar and broke off half and ate it for himself. And everybody else was like, we got to survive off this. And he was like, I'm gonna get out of here and I've gotta eat something for my escape energy. That was my mentality.
Well, they in either Myers or Ennis's video, they like went around and showed everybody and like Evan Turner was like kind of kneeling down and like Damian Lillard was on the floor. And so
Mm.
one of the things in Casey's interview of him, he was like, "You look like one of the more scared players on the elevator." And Damian says, "That's just the part of the video that they showed. That's the way it was edited." And listen, I've watched a lot of Real Housewives, and I understand that editing can really change the picture. But come on. He said, "I was
Yeah.
standing there like everybody else at first. And then I was like, we got to play tomorrow. So I'm sitting down. Makes sense. And then it starts getting hot, and I was the smallest person in there. So I was like, we need to clear out some of the space for each other. There's a lot of breath moving around up there." So I sat down.
Yeah. And then he says this other thing that I think is truly hysterical, where he said, I heard the people trying to get us up, and the elevator kept like shaking and going up and then dropping. And I was like, I don't know if they're gonna get us out of here anytime soon. I'm hungry. I don't want to eat nobody. Like Dave's was totally fixated in like survival mode where he's like, I don't want to eat anybody. I'm gonna take half this granola bar for myself just to make sure I
That
don't
I don't
start looking at
accidentally eat
anybody like a
anybody.
meal.
That I don't unintentionally eat everybody. And then in the video, I can't remember who said it, but at the end, the video, somebody said, "Yeah, we could really tell who the real ones are by who stayed to wait until we got out of the elevator and who went back to the hotel room." Now I want to know who stayed, like who like stayed in the building the whole time and waited for their friends to get out, and who else was like, "I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna go get my own rest."
Oh my God, I want to look at the roster from that era of the team because I'm like, I could probably guess.
Yeah.
So I got wait, this must have been Mo Harkless and Aminu were probably still on this team.
Oh, yeah,
Was it Mo Harkless and Aminu?
2019. Yeah, maybe one of them stayed and one of them went, and now we got to find out. Well,
Because this is the
Damien's
what
back.
this is the Western Conference Finals team, isn't it?
Let's see, February 2019. Yeah, that would have been the Western Conference Finals team. Yeah.
So Nurk was on this team,
Yeah,
or
Chief.
yeah, Nurk, Chief, Mo,
Hmm.
maybe Jake Layman,
Yeah, Pat Connaughton, was he on the team?
maybe.
Well, we'll have to look at that rest. I didn't look at the roster. My final thought about that one is a year later in March of 2020, right before everything shut down. Um, I think that was, yeah. No, no, no. Sorry, later that in March of 2019, a bunch of us went to Denver for a game. Oh, that's right. It was 2019 because it was my 50th birthday. And a whole bunch of us went down there together and we went to the game in Denver and we were going up into the arena and we all got onto the elevator and the thing started beeping and all of us Portland Trailblazers fans exited that elevator so fast. We were like, we are getting off. Let us out of here. So we took the stairs the entire time we were there.
Okay, I have the roster up. Can I read it to you?
Yes.
So this is the 2019-2020 Blazer. No, no, sorry. This would be we need the previous season, right? The
Yeah,
2018-2019.
18-19.
18-19. Okay, the 18-19 Blazers. Al-Farouq Aminu, Wade Baldwin, who I forgot about, Zach Collins, who's in that elevator. Seth Curry was on that team. Ennis Cantor, Mo Harkless, Rodney Hood, Scal, Jake Layman, Myers Leonard, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, who was not in that elevator, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Simons, Nick Stauskas, Sauce Castillo was on that team. Caleb Swanigan, may he rest in peace. Gary Trent Jr., Evan Turner.
I really want to know if CJ waited or if he went back to the hotel. Either way, I respect their what his choice was. I would just be very curious what it was.
Yeah, that's right. Um, well, I'm this is a fun little trip down memory lane because some of these guys I'd kind of forgotten about. Um,
That's
but I'll
partly
say,
why I love doing this is just reading the old rosters and going, "Oh my God."
but I will say this, like Ennis Cantor, all his other stuff aside, he did give us a nice little peek into what happened in that elevator because he was so obsessed with like, putting stuff on socials. Like
Yes.
we got a better opportunity to like see that event in real time because he was always had his camera on and was recording and going live and posting videos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He and Myers were real like camera warriors on that event.
Yes. Yeah, we did whatever else, we got a lot of content when Ennis Cantor was a Blazer.
That's true. Um, okay, the next one that we have on our list, Tara. This is November 2019 is when Carmelo Anthony joined the Blazers in the middle of a road trip. Do you remember this?
Yeah, and it's the reason that like I hadn't originally thought about this particular one, but in the group chat, I think it was Kat pointed it out that this road trip, the way everybody else reacted to Carmelo Anthony kind of like got through to us about what a big deal it was. And I can relate to that because I remember when they announced that they were adding Carmelo Anthony to the team, it was just all about our team. And I wasn't thinking about like, I mean, of course, you couldn't help but think about like it big picture in terms of Melo had been out of the league for an entire year. Nobody seemed to want him to play on their team. He'd said some stuff about playing off the bench, lots of stuff. But until we went on the road and saw how everybody reacted to his return, it didn't really solidify it for like me, like really what a big deal it was.
Yeah, and it was so interesting because remember, like he used to post a bunch of videos of himself working out. Like he post like was it Hoodie Mellow? Is that what it was? Where he would
Yeah.
like work out and like for a while it was just him working out for a long time. So he like literally like got off his couch, you know, pulled off his hoodie and pulled on a jersey and then like went out there on like a road in the middle of a road trip with a team from like
Hmm.
it was like a late early pickup,
Yeah, it was in
early season pickup.
November. I can't remember if it was the beginning. It was like they were like 12 games into the season. The wheels had already started to fall off the bus after their deep playoff run the year before. And yeah, he debuted in New Orleans, and that was followed by Milwaukee and Cleveland. He had 10 points. He was 4 of 14. So immediately everybody was like, why is he shooting so much? Like, everybody just calm down. But one of the things I was reading as I read an article that that shared tweets from like players around the league, and that was like how many different players were excited to see Melo back and feeling like it was the right thing for him to be back, and that he was able to like come back and finish his career, whatever happened later, him leaving to join the Lakers and then kind of disappearing after that. But like the fact that he wasn't done with his career, and they seemed very excited that he was able to come back and finish it out.
Yeah. And that was a fun little time. So like I remember the team was really struggling when he joined, and like I don't know, it gave us something to like focus on that wasn't just about like winning with a capital W. It, like I don't know, I felt like he brought something like an interesting aspect to that team that made them more watchable.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it was rough. And a
yes.
lot of people thought it continued to be rough because they thought, oh no, he's taking playing time away from Anthony Simons. Maybe, yeah, whatever. We needed fans, we needed something to watch, and we needed something to root for.
Yeah. That was a fun little time. And I was happy that he got an opportunity to like play on a team where he could meaningfully contribute and everybody wasn't just like groaning about how it was a terrible idea to bring him to our team. Like the Lakers fans did that. I think the Thunder did that. I think that Houston did that to him. Like here, I felt like he was far more welcome and his contributions were appreciated.
I'm gonna get up and close my window because my husband just decided to start weed whacking.
Okay, do it.
You want to introduce the next one?
Yes. So we are going to move on from Carmelo Anthony joining the Blazers on a road trip in 2019. The next one is July 10th, 2020. Now, normally the Blazers are not playing in July of 2020, but as you recall, this was the year that Rudy Gobert shut down the NBA early, and they picked up later and did the bubble. So July 10th, 2020 is when Gary Trent Jr. did his fashion shoot in the bathroom on the team flight to the bubble.
I love this one so much. If people can close their eyes and imagine, I'm going to describe to you some of these photos from this photo shoot. So they're on a private plane because the bathroom is huge, and the bathroom is huge because in one of the photos he's sitting on the bench next to the toilet with his legs fully extended, and he's wearing what do you call that? Is it a Bape? What's that designer? There's a very specific designer that
Bathing
he,
ape.
yeah, that he's
His
wearing, and
bathing ape.
and it's a coordinated zip up hoodie and matching pants, and he's got a mask covering everything but his eyes, and so he's sitting on a bench next to the toilet, which is open, with his legs stretched out. And then there's another one, and let's see if I can. Okay, there's one of him
The one that's really
standing up.
memorable to me is that he has his hood zipped all the way up to the top.
Right. And that's the one where he's squatting down, I think. And like all of these are like, it's like all the bathroom is like on full display in all of these. It's like very new. Oh, there's one where he's sitting on both the bench with his legs on the toilet, and he's holding one of his shoes to show off the Nike Air that he's wearing while he's gazing out the window. Because that's how fancy this plane is that the bathroom has a window. So that's a good one. But I love the one where he's crouching down. Okay, yeah. That's the final one in the set is he's up on a shelf in the bathroom, um crouching down with his arms crossed, and that's the one where he has the suit zipped all the way up to the top so you can't see his face. So
Yes. Because it was
so
one of those like it's one of those zip ups that like zips all the way up to the top of the hood.
yeah. So so I have to read you the tweet stream that came off of this because
Okay.
he posts it with the caption long flight, and then like a little mask, and then like a rolling on the floor laughing emoji, and an airplane, and then CJ McCollum says a whole bunch of laughing emojis. Bruh, something is wrong with you. And then Ben Kenyon, one of their, I think he was a trainer, says,
Yeah.
"Did you really do a photo shoot in the bathroom? LOL." And then Gary Trent answers, "I was bored." Shrug emoji. Nasir says, "I'm trying to take a pee and you in there doing this." To which Mario Hazonia responds, "Fam, I'm waiting 15 minutes for him."
That was my immediate reaction. Honestly, when I saw that photo shoot, I'm like, nobody needed to use the bathroom in that time. You're just in here taking photos of yourself.
Evan Turner says, "Somebody damn near pissed their pants waiting for this goofy stuff." Zach Collins says, "This is what we were waiting on." And then Damien says, "Bruh, this why I had to wait to use the damn bathroom."
Line was down the aisle just waiting.
Oh, I love it when we get to talk about Gary Trent Jr., the only Gary that this podcast recognizes twice in one episode. I love Gary Trent Jr. so much, and this was so good.
Certified Blazer cutie Gary Trent Jr. for sure. And I want to say, so do you remember the meme that happened during the pandemic where like it was like a meme of like it was like a grid and everybody posted pictures of themselves of like January, February, March, and then they like the pictures start to get really sad when they start hitting like the shutdown months. So I did a version of that. I made a t-shirt with a version of that for Gary Trent. I have a Gary Trent like pandemic meme t-shirt and I included one of these pictures because in the bubble months I made those bubble months pictures of him bawling. Like
Yes.
cuz they were playing basketball again, but then like there was this like, the sad era of black and white photos where people aren't doing anything. Anyway, I'll share a picture of it with you all so you all can see it. But I remember that meme like making the rounds during that time. And when Gary Trent had this photo shoot, I was like, well, I gotta find a way to incorporate this
Yes.
somehow because
Uh,
this is hilarious objectively.
Gary Trent Jr. is a legend. Uh, I miss him so much.
Like he could rock shorts like nobody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Moses Brown's original shorts.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I hate to move on, but the next memory that we have from a road trip is in December 19th, 2022. Damian Lillard became the all-time leading scorer on a road trip on a free throw. And as exciting as that should have been, it was the most depressing way that possibly could have happened, I think, in a loss.
Yeah, it was. Do you remember that road trip too?
Oh,
It was like late in a road trip when this happened, and we were all watching it knowing it was going to happen, and it felt like the weight of the world was on his back or something. It
yeah.
was like the team wasn't playing that well. He was chasing this all-time leading scorer status. I felt like he was in his head about it because it just, I don't like the coaches and everybody were saying the right things. They were like, "No, we're just a regular game, whatever." But I was like, "We can all see it."
Yeah. Well, and what I remember about it too was that I think that might have been the first year of the third bench. It might have been the second year. I can't quite remember. But I remember when we were doing our draft, Seth, Sheriff of Portland, had sort of like done the math and been like, okay, so if Damien is getting his regular scoring average, then we should expect him to meet, make this milestone like this week in December. And it was like the first week in December. And so we all like held on to our seats to make sure that we could go so that we could be there. And we were so, and and then it just like as the time drew closer and Damien was in a slump, I think was that when he was having when he had his core surgery? It may have been around that time. And it just got like worse and worse. And then we were like, oh no, this is going to happen on the road. And
Yeah,
so
because it was a long trip that they were on too.
it was just so depressing. And I remember watching it because we got together to watch it at the what's it called? Grand Central, which is a great place to go, by
Mhm.
the way, to watch games. Grand Central Bowl. And I think we watched it because it was a back to back. I know. I just remember watching it there and it was just so painful. And as much as Damian Lillard means to the franchise for that to happen in that way, like he had to act like he was all excited about it. But like he like he couldn't because he's Damian Lillard. He can't really lie, you know?
Yeah.
So when he talked about it, he was like, yeah, it means a lot to me to get this and everything, but like sure would have been nice to do it in a win
Yeah.
and in front of the home crowd.
Also, like when that happened, they lost. It was in OKC. And if I recall, the announcers in Oklahoma City like acknowledged it
Yeah.
in the arena for the fans. And and they all gave,
They
they
stopped
applauded
the
him and
game for
stuff.
it and applauded him.
Yeah. But I remember looking at Dame's face, I'm like he was it was fine. It
Yeah.
happened and it was fine. I think that he was probably relieved to get it done.
Yeah.
He would have eventually gotten it done, but like it felt like the worst way for it to happen. And then he came home to that ugly trophy. Oh my God, I just remembered that trophy now, and now I'm gonna be upset for like at least 3 minutes because we knew it was coming. We had so much time to prepare to honor him with something that is awesome, and they pulled a rim out of the back locker, like the back of the arena somewhere, an extra rim,
The
and just
practice facility.
strung something like canvas up on it with like the trailblazers. It we That is shameful. And like out of all the things that I'm mad about at my like franchise for that's like in my top five. And I know there's lots of things to be mad about, but I'm like, this doesn't come around very often. It may never happen again. And that's what you gave him. We should have spent some real money and gotten him something really lovely that he would like put on a shelf and like people would come by and be like, "Oh man, that's amazing." The like end of the year NBA awards that are some of them that are like, whatever, like all the rookie whatever, like all rookie teams. Those awards look way nicer than what we did for Damian, and they have to give those out every year.
I remember how mad you were. I was wondering when it was going to come out. Did you really not remember it until just now?
I just wasn't like thinking about that road trip in that
Yeah.
moment in
That was the
association with the ugh.
that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, oh, Rubes gets to go off about their award again.
I'm so sorry, everybody, if you think it's lovely. I do not think that that thing is lovely. It's huge. It's not really built to be on display. It doesn't look that nice. It's not going to tie a room together. No one's going to look at that and be like, wow, you did something amazing, unless they read the fine print at the bottom. They'd be like, why you got that rim out here? Shouldn't that be in your closet somewhere?
I mean, if the whole story isn't like kind of like the dark side metaphor for the Lillard years. You know what I mean? Because there's been so many high points. There's been so many great things. There's been so many things that we have celebrated about Damian during his whole tenure as a Blazer, his coming back as a Blazer. But that story just like encapsulates all of like the downside of being a Blazer during that time. Expectations are so high. Everybody's waiting. They're anticipating. They can't wait until it happens. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, but like this? Like when we made it to the Western Conference Finals, oh, but like, was it real? Just so many parallels I can see for the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll just say, like, myself, I want to honor Damien in the very best ways that we possibly can whenever we're able. And so for me, that's why that was so disappointing. I was like, this is how we reward this person who has given so much of himself to us. But I'm glad that he is back and hopefully we get a chance to give him better hardware in the future.
Yeah. And he can keep running at that score.
Yes, that's right. Make it untouchable. Make it so that they never get to give that award to anybody else ever again.
So no one else has to get that reward.
Yeah, so nobody else has a leftover rim in their closet somewhere.
I love it. Okay, the last one, Rose, or a road trip adventure that came to mind when we were compiling our list was in February 2023. The Blazers are stuck on a tarmac. They make a video, and we learn who Tristan is.
Yeah. Every everybody who was a fan at the time probably saw that video like everywhere. We saw it for like I feel like a week straight, and it was Dame did his tarmac freestyle. And there's that iconic moment where I think he's like got like a scarf over his head and glasses on, and he says, "Where the bleep is Tristan?" And we learned that Tristan is the Blazers videographer who comes and captures like behind the scenes stuff. He captures stuff in game. He does a lot, creates a lot of the video content for the Trailblazers. It's really wonderful. And he got a shout out in that video. And I don't know if you remember this, but like I just remember looking through that video and wanting to look at everyone's faces and everyone's reactions throughout that video because there were so many good ones from that team and they felt really like, I don't know, connected.
Yeah, and it was at a time where like the rebuilding had started, but they still had Damian Lillard on the team. So Shaden, I think it was Shaden's rookie year.
Hmm.
So I guess Jabari would have been there too, and I think Trendon Watford, Blazer Kitty, triple double haver, Trendon Watford was on there. So it was kind of an interesting mix because when you think about like the Damian Lillard teams, all those ones like with Mo Harkless and Evan Turner, and but this was like a different era. And I loved that. So they were stuck on the tarmac to like for like 6 to 7 hours. So they were like on the plane waiting, but a snowstorm grounded them. They ended up not being able to take off and they all had to drive home and then come back the next morning. So during that time, he decided to write, and it's actually really funny if you listen to the video. He makes a reference to a lot of the players. I'm not sure if he got references to everybody who was on the team at the time. Um, but it was fun, and it was kind of those times when it was like we had to find things to get excited about it. And as always, Damian Lillard was able to pull something out of the hat that we could get excited about.
So and I'm looking at some screen grabs that I have of this video. Nas Little is in this video. Drew Eubanks is in this video. I see Matisse was on this team, so he must have just like joined this team at the time. I see Justice Winslow,
Oh yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that this guy that I can see that I can only see part of his face, I'm pretty sure this is Ryan Arcidiacono.
Oh.
And then Ant and Trendon Watford in the foreground. Um, Jabari is here. Yeah, this was a good time.
And it was the first game back after All-Star break. And this was when they were like slowly shutting Damian down a little bit at a time. Was it be 1 month later that the allegations against co-conspirator 8 happened? Was that in 2020, March of
Yeah,
2023?
I think that's right. So yeah, it was like March. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, this is a great video. It made the rounds. Everybody seemed like they were looking to fill time and hang out and bond and stuff. And yeah, it was good. And then we got to find out who Tristan was, and he's still with the team as far as I can tell. He does a lot of the content for us. He made that. I love following him on Instagram because he sometimes posts like behind the scenes of like what it was like to create certain content for the Blazers. And I remember him posting a video of him being like pulled around on a cart to do that shot where they showed all of the lockers right after the Damian Lillard acquisition. And so they like showed all of the lockers, and then the final locker they show you is Dame's locker. And then he posted a video of himself like sitting on a cart while somebody pulled him while he shot it with a handheld cam. And I was like, oh, this is lovely. And it's lovely to like see what goes into making this for us and like these moments that we like are gonna remember, quite frankly, for a long time. And I was thinking about it, like he also posts skate videos, and I was like, of course, a guy who makes skate videos is great at capturing basketball because of the speed and like the chaos of it. Like he makes like really wonderful videos, I think, for something that is so unpredictable and fast paced. I really appreciate that about it.
Yeah, he does amazing work, and I see him out and about pretty frequently, and he's always like super nice if you say, "Hey, you're Tristan from the video," or "You're Tristan the videographer." Yeah, he's real humble, but he's also super nice and like just a great guy. So like I will say to kind of wrap up our discussion about like road trip things that happen. There's lots of stories that I remember, like Brooke and Casey talking about, or Casey and Joe talking about like things that the media team members or the broadcast crew would go through during these various road trips. I remember another snow mishap where everybody got back to the when they got back, they all had to dig their cars out of the snow, and some of them their cars didn't work or they were afraid to drive, and so they were giving each other rides. And somebody somebody told a story, I can't remember who it was, but somebody like had to crawl in the back of somebody else's car in order to get home like in the middle of the night after a snowstorm, and they were sitting on like a rake the whole time, but they didn't really know it. They just knew it was really uncomfortable. And after they got out, they were like sitting on someone's garden tools. But like, so, we talked about things that happen to the players, but also there's like all the stories about what happens with like everybody else who goes along with team. And not only are they going through it all, they're also like supporting like
Hmm.
the team. Like the amount of work that like the equipment managers and all those folks have to do every road trip is just like out of this world. If you've ever read about it, I don't know if we could ever get somebody to come on the podcast and talk about it. That would be like a dream. But I have like read articles about the types of things that the people who support traveling NBA teams do, and it is out mind-boggling how much they have to coordinate and manage in order to for these road trips to go smoothly.
Yeah, actually, I remember reading in that article that was covering the Blazers going to Seattle and then coming back to Portland. They were talking about how Jeff Clark, who's I think their trainer, was helping to do logistics to figure out like the what if scenarios because they had to, get hotel rooms in Seattle and they also had to book buses and they had to be ready. But maybe they were going to land in Portland, but then oh, they didn't. And then they got those hotels and those hotel rooms in Portland, which they weren't expecting to need because they treated it like they were an away team when they got back into town because they knew they weren't going to be able to go home for very long. Like all of that stuff is sometimes asking of people to do their regular jobs, but it's really, really hard. And sometimes it's even the people who are not doing their regular jobs and just trying to make like the team work as well as possible. And I'm so grateful to them because we don't have great basketball to watch without them.
Mhm.
They help make like we get to see it through their eyes, like people like Kristen, people like Bruce, like they show us the game through their eyes, they show us behind the scene through their eyes. There's people that do logistics, there are people who do these interviews that produce these fabulous quotes. Like we really wouldn't get to enjoy this team in the same way without all of those hardworking people.
Well said. Applause for all of them. This was so fun going down memory lane. And if listeners are listening to this and just thinking in their head, how could you have forgotten X when this happened? Or what about this time? We want to hear them all. So leave us comments. Tell us which ones we missed, which ones were the most memorable to you, especially also really old ones, because like I said, we didn't have the visibility from back in the old days.
Yeah, that's right. And also like maybe you guys have something to add up to the ones that we talked about today. Like we for sure definitely like haven't read every single thing that everyone said about this. Maybe there's a really fun detail that you have to share with us that we would really enjoy hearing about as well. So thank you for coming on this journey with us.
Yeah. Shall we wrap it up and do our takes?
Yeah. So Tara, it is November 9th, 2025. What's your take?
So my take is it's not really a take. It's just my sister is getting really into the W or into the NBA now. And I'm so excited. She once the WNBA team was announced for Portland, she got really into the WNBA. And so she's like my go-to source. She like knows all the players and everything. But now she's decided she wants to get into the NBA, which is my particular favorite. Not that, I'm going to get excited about the WNBA when we get there. But I'm really excited that she's getting into the NBA also because she's also a big Bravo person. And so now I'll have like five people who understand all of my niche NBA Bravo jokes. So I'm super excited. And if you're listening to Z, welcome to the What Podcast. And I'm so excited that you've decided to become a fan of the NBA and we can share this along with everything else that we share as sisters.
That's the best. I love this for you, and I can't wait for like myself. I can't wait for the WNBA to be here because then I will know that like, I mean, granted, there's like a high risk of a lockout, but like when the WNBA is here, we are going to be in endless basketball in Portland, and people like me don't have to try to watch baseball for periods of time and care so much about that. Like, yeah, no, um, I'll pass.
What are we going to do during Summer Olympics? Like if they straddle both, I don't know. There's going to be a lot going on.
I mean, usually in the Olympics, I can get into like the stories and stuff of like the Olympic athletes for like especially small countries. I love watching small countries. I'm also like, I think Olympic basketball is super fun. I'm
No, I
happy
mean,
to
what are
watch
we going to
Olympic
do with
basketball.
ourselves time-wise? Because we're going to basically
Oh,
have to quit our jobs and abandon our children in order to be able to take in
oh.
all this content.
Well, luckily yours are grown, so
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about like, the government coming after you.
Yeah.
I probably can't abandon my child without like a problem because she's too small, but
You'll get
I'm
her into it.
yeah, that's right. She's like on the verge of being a fire super fan, I can tell. It's just like not here yet because she can't if you're a kid and it's not immediately in front of you, it's really hard to get excited about it. So, but when it's here, I'm gonna take her and she's gonna be wild about it because she's wild about the Blazers.
I love that. What's your take?
My take is about yesterday's game, which I shouldn't really have a take about this, but I did see something that I really liked, and I was one of the things that like jumped out at me was like, I think that Donovan Clingan is really good at defending the lob. Like,
I love that.
this is something that like when you like, I love it when we get lobs. I hate it when somebody lobs on us. Hate it. Ugh. Bleh.
Mm.
But I was watching Donovan be very effective against the lob, and granted, like they didn't have Bam. They were playing Khalil Ware and Bam was sitting out. But like honestly, like in a world where big men are back, it's nice to see Donovan be able to defend the lob pretty well. And like everything he does has been so wonderful so far this season and surprising. I was honestly shocked that this was also another thing he added over the summer. Like I didn't really see this from him last year. This year he seems really locked in on defense. He seems really fast. He seems like fit. And I'm just so pleased to see him developing so well. Like I low key expect him to be the most improved player by the end of the season because of how much he's grown over the last like calendar year. And like by the end of this season, that'll be another like, 9 months. Like he might be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I don't know.
He's got to learn how to score. As soon as he learns how to score, I mean, as soon as he learns how to score, that's going to be it. Because I too take it very personally every time a team dunks on my team that I root for. I'm like, I take that as a personal affront every time. But it's been since we've had Donovan, even last year when he was just getting started, um, fewer people have even gotten to the rim. And I
Hmm.
remember trying to think about like back in years past the difference between somebody who could kind of defend at the rim versus somebody who was an absolute rim deterrent. And people were like, I'm not even going to try to go there. And I think Donovan is on his way to being one of those people that's like, I'm not even trying to go there, which excites me a lot.
I see a lot of guards now dribble up into the paint and then turn around and then like cut to the side because Donovan's already there. And they're like, nope, not going for this big tall guy. And he's been really good. I mean, he's been really good at rim protecting, which is something that like in the past I had talked myself into some of our guys being better rim protectors than they actually are because I needed to. I just needed that in my heart. But like he's actually a really good rim protector. I don't have to be like, oh yeah, Hassan Whiteside. Yeah.
This canter.
Yeah, it's like he's like a legit like rim protector. He's a deterrent. He's
Yeah.
big, he's long, he blocks shots, he makes shots hard, and he looks like he defends the lob pretty well. I see him be really patient now.
Hmm.
Um yeah, like I he hasn't been in like foul trouble. Like remember at the beginning of last season he was in foul trouble a lot.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
now I
which
feel
is like
like when he's
expected, but also great that he's grown out of it.
yeah, and now when I see him not being played, it's not because he's in foul trouble. It's because like they're doing something different, like doing
Yeah.
something with intention. They want a different look. Like I've noticed they like kind of forego a big center sometimes because they want to run and play so fast.
Hmm.
But it's not because well Donovan's in foul trouble or Donovan has already played too many minutes and he's too tired. It's none
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think we're pretty much on We're both pretty much on Donovan watch and expecting something big and exciting. Because, like I said, as soon as he learns how to score, that's gonna be over for a lot of teams.
Oh God, can Donovan take on Wemby? I'm very curious to see what the first game against the Spurs looks like.
I don't think anyone can take on Wemby, but
No.
I think Donovan in a couple years would will have as good a chance as anybody, as opposed to being like a sieve or whatever. I think somebody like Donovan will have as good a chance as anybody who has any effectiveness at all. I feel like Donovan could get there, and he's got Tiago Splitter to guide him.
Cross our fingers and like hope good things for Donovan because I do think that a lot of championships are going to flow through Wemby.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be whether or
And
not you figured out how to avoid him for
yeah,
sure.
and there might be some great team concepts out there that this coaching staff is cooking up. I don't know. It doesn't have to just be Donovan one on one, but Wemby looks unstoppable this season.
I hate to say it, but there's some new college player out there who's even bigger than Wemby.
Oh, I know. My husband told me about him, I was so surprised because I was like, oh, look at you paying attention to basketball things. But he's like, he plays in Florida somewhere and he's quite big.
Yeah,
Is he 6'7", 8"?
something like that.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
And apparently he also can move. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know what's gonna happen to us. I might take up golf as my favorite sport sometime.
Well, you're going to be killed by outlet passes or bounce passes or trying to pick up charges that you don't get.
Right, right. Well, and if our team is doing, is feasting off of those things, I'm perfectly fine with it. It's just when other teams do it to us. Anyway, thank you so much. That was really fun to go down memory lane with you. Thanks for everyone who listened. You can find me at TCB Biggs on Blue Sky. You can find Rose at Rose L. Harding. You can find us at We Have a Take. Find us on all of the different places where you find podcasts and also on YouTube. Anything else I usually say? I don't think so. Thanks a lot for listening and go Blazers.